Welcome to Horror Makes Us Happy, the podcast where we ask the question, what is it about horror that makes us happy? Your hosts are Steve Becker and myself, Chris Whitman, and you can find out more about us at our website, horrormakesushappy.com. You got a link tree and links on the website there, and you can listen to all the episodes, but also you can go to the links and you can visit all our socials like the Discord and Blue Sky.
Buy merch, Patreon.
You can buy things there too.
Yes.
Buy some coffee. I need coffee. Anywho.
No, scotch only for you today.
Oh, okay. That kind of part.
Twist your arm. Sorry, you were saying?
I was saying, this is the trigger warning. This is a horror podcast. We talk about horror things and we drink scotch. So
and curse.
There may be curses, words said, and we may delve into sensitive subjects that may involve violence and the like.
Especially on this call, from what I've seen.
Especially on this call. It's going to be a hard one, I think.
But today we are talking to Mr. Scooter McCrae, actor, director, editor, best known for 16 Tons, Shatter, Dead, and Black-Eyed Susan. Welcome.
Howdy, gents. Good afternoon.
Yes. Thank you for joining us. Before we get into the meat of the interview, you want to let us know what you're currently working
on? Dying, old age.
Same.
Turned 60 recently, so just kind of figuring out what to do next. And so far, every breath I take seems to be the next project.
Yeah, right.
Okay, that's a good thing.
Before we got on the call, you mentioned something about, what was it, Frankenstein, St. Frankenstein?
Oh, yeah, that's a short film that I did unbelievably now. I think about it almost a decade ago, but it is free online for people who might want to watch it at www.stfrankenstein.com. And I should add that just because it's available for free online to watch does not mean that it's not an NC-17 for, nudity, violence, situation, language, what else? Colors. I mean, can the colors also be an NC-17?
Sure,
I have no idea.
Sure.
Yeah.
A certain shade of purple.
It is also available on Blu-ray if you purchase Black-Eyed Susan and 16 Tongues. They both have it on there, actually.
Oh, nice.
And thanks. I mean, it's better, obviously, see it on Blu-ray. But if you don't know my work and you want to get a taste for just how awful it is, you can at least see this 20-minute short online. And the nice thing about the short too is that in addition to having some great makeup effects, it also has an original music score by the legendary, wonderful maestro himself, Fabio Frizzi, who of course scored the Fulci classics, The Beyond, Gates of Hell, Zombie. It goes on and on.
Cool. Yeah, we're going to put together a bio page and link to whatever it is that you want us to link to. So when we follow up offline, if you want to send us a link to, I think you said it was online somewhere, we can link to that. And then anybody listening to this can go to our website and just go from there.
That's great. Thanks very much. Although I'm sure at this point they're done with me. I'm sorry. Move on. It's okay. It's stuck.
Yes.
I'm going to say a lot worse things, I'm sure.
Yes. That's what the 20 minutes was for. You get your taste and decide whether or not you want to stick around.
Yeah.
Well, this podcast is actually less about your body of work and more about what you've been a fan of. But of course, your stuff might come up. That said, anything that we ask here, it's not meant to be a therapy question. So if there's something we ask and you don't want to answer, you just say pass and move on. But starting with childhood, what are some of your earliest memories of scary things?
Pass, move on.
Yes.
That's a fascinating question. I had to give that some thought beforehand, but when I think back to my childhood, I think the one thing I remember always kind of skeeving me out and scaring me was always spiders and other unusual insects. So when I think back to the movies that I watched as a kid that really freaked me out, it's stuff like the giant mantis and tarantula, Jack Arnold for Tarantula, and that's another one. Destination Inner Space, which I remember freaking me out as a kid. That was definitely in science fiction theater, and that was one of those great crossover. Is it science fiction? Is it horror from the 50s?
That's not the one with Martin Short, is it?
No, that's just Inner Space.
Oh, wow, that's right. I forgot that. Wow. Even better. No, this one has, I think Sherry North and the brother of Lawrence Tierney, whose name is suddenly escaping me in it, and this wonderful monster. The special effects in it are kind of terrible, but also some of them are quite beautiful. The monster is really weird, really strange looking and kind of scary, especially when you're about like 8 years old, 10 years old. I love it.
And I'm a creature from the Black Lagoon.
I was just going to say.
Of course. I mean, because those are the legit scary classics, of course. But
we had a thing with fish people back then.
Something that I will say that the Creature from the Black Lagoon was legitimately beautiful, whereas the one in Destination Inner Space is really nasty looking. It didn't move as much, but the mouth had this incredible scowl with razor sharp teeth and big black eyes, and it just always looked angry. Whereas the Creature from the Black Lagoon, there was more movement, and poetry, and beauty to it.
Yeah, this looks like Creature from the Black Lagoon waking up the next day after a hangover.
Oh yeah. Total bender, and like I said, really angry. It goes around with its claws, just scratching people's faces off. Really harsh stuff when you're 8 or 10 years old.
Yeah.
One of the great nightmare moments of my childhood was watching one called The Creature that I think it's called The Monster That Conquered the World, which was this kind of caterpillar creature, and it was underwater. And there's this one shot where these scientists put on their underwater scuba gear and they go under water, and one of them gets eaten by the creature. But the thing that freaked me out, like I had nightmares for like decades from this moment, was the other divers down there see the creature open its mouth with its big pincher claws, and the guy's head is in his mouth with this look on his face of just like his mouth is open, he's screaming in terror, water-filled terror, and the pinchers are going in and out. So little 8-year-old me, whatever, 10-year-old me I had nightmares forever.
Was it like his severed head or his head peeking out
He had swallowed the entire body from starting at the feet, and then just the head was left there about to be ingested. That was all that was left, like some little cocktail cherry at the end of the drink. And it's interesting because as a child, I didn't remember what that movie was, and it wasn't until Laserdiscs came out, and there were these Universal classic horror box sets, and it was one of the titles in there. And I remember buying the box set, bringing it home, being unaware that was the movie, and I put it on. So we're talking about like my late 30s, maybe 40 years old, somewhere in that age range. And the movie came on, and I was sitting there going, wait a minute. No, this isn't, well, oh my God. And then that moment arrived, and I was like, oh my God, it was beautiful. It was horrifying, but it was just one of those, you feel like the two ends, the beginning of your life and the end of your life, kind of like touching fingers, and you gotta go, whoa. So that was quite a moment.
Cool. And while you were talking, I pulled it up on IMDb. It's a monster that challenged the world, and they show footage from the movie. It's actually, looking at that monster, it's actually pretty well done for something.
Right. This is really impressive for 1957.
It was well done. Wait, it was too well done. When you're a youngster, it really freaked me the fuck out, So as an adult, I'm still looking at it going like, wow, they put some effort into this. And I remember the actors being good. I haven't watched that one in a while, but I do have it here on Blu-ray, and I think once a decade I give it a spin.
It looks like a tardigrade, which makes me wonder if they knew what those were back then. They might have.
They were discovered like in the fucking 18th century, weren't they? It was a long time ago.
I mean, it really only requires a microscope powerful enough to see something that small. So whatever that was.
Wow. They were ahead of the game.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what did you like about the giant mantis?
Well,
the movie, I mean, any particular scene stand out to you?
No, just the mantis itself.
Oh,
praying mantises still as an adult freak me the fuck out.
They are fucking vicious, man. I've seen them attack some like bugs much bigger than them. And they'll chase
people.
You. Yeah, exactly. I've seen them attack people. They will chase you.
They have this incredibly blank face. They're kind of like, to me, they're like the zombies of the insect world. They kind of just move at you slow, and they look at you, and it's just like, I'm going to just tear you apart, man. And it's freaky still. Like, if I see them now, I run the other way. I won't go near them. I mean, they sincerely are spooky. So I, of course, remember the giant mantis just kind of, they're inside a tunnel. I'm trying to remember if it took place in New York or LA. And
those are the only two cities that exist in 1950s and 1960s sci-fi.
Yeah, exactly. That would have a tunnel, like a car tunnel like that. So it's got to be one of them. But it seemed like, I think they just made
The
it up.
Deadly Mantis. That's what it was called. Maybe 1957.
Not a particularly good movie beyond that. And I'm sure I haven't seen it in a very long time. I don't remember even as a kid, I remember thinking, well, the special effects are not up to snuff as some of the other ones. But like I said, the one that also freaked me out as a kid was
Tarantula.
Big Tarantula. Yeah. Big Jack Arnold fan. Like when I was a kid, Jack Arnold was probably the first director, like even before I knew much about movies. I keep seeing this guy's name popping up on movies that I'm watching. So he must be great. He must be amazing. And I still think he's kind of great and amazing. And he's directed so many films that I love, even though I guess he wouldn't fall into the auteur category, but just a really good working man director who, because also Incredible Shrinking Man, which happens to have a spider in the climax, which incredible, wonderful special effects. That also, of course, freaked me out as a kid.
Okay, so for Tarantula, I guess the main thing there was I'm going to say this. Did your fear of spiders and insects predate the horror films, or do you think they came because of the horror films?
It's hard to say. Maybe it was just seeing Leo G. Carroll over a barrel when the tarantula took to the hills. I don't know, but I suspect I had fear of insects before that. And I wish I could give you a formative childhood moment that gave me that. But it seems to be something with more than 4 legs instantly puts me into the what the fuck is this thing category.
Yeah.
I'm surprised it didn't bring up them.
You know what? It's interesting. I love it. It's a great movie. And it did spook me a little bit as a kid, but it didn't hit me anywhere near as much. Like ants don't really freak me out too much. Maybe because they're so tiny. But yeah, when they go large, I love the movie. But when they go large, they don't tend to be as terrifying. They start to look a little ridiculous.
What was the movie with the killer ants that made
Phase 4?
Maybe, yeah.
4. Yeah.
They made giant anthills that they used to reflect the sun?
Right onto the scientist's dome to try to burn them out. Fantastic movie. See, yes. that movie is absolutely incredible. Like science fiction from the 70s is my jam, man. And I feel like that's definitely one of the great ones from that era, whatever flaws it might have in it. But my God, the footage of the ants itself is it's a whole other. They should have gotten an Oscar just for that.
Yeah.
So one of the questions we like to ask is slightly different from one that I just asked a minute ago, which is that some guests have reported that horror was always scary to them or always enjoyable to them. And then some guests have said that there was a dividing line where it was scary up until a certain point, and then they saw a movie and then now it became enjoyment. Which one of those was it for you? Was it always enjoyment? Was it always scary? Was there a line?
I can't say there was a line. I've certainly always enjoyed watching scary movies and always enjoyed that little, the frisson, the thrill of being scared. And I get it less now as an adult, but at the same saying that, there are some things that will always eternally spook me or freak me out, and that's certainly zombies. So I'm not sure I'm quite answering the question, except to say that, yes, I love to watch Lucio Fulci's Zombie, but I will not watch it at home alone late at night because I have to limit the amount of fright that I will put up with.
Was anybody in your childhood, anybody in your family fan of horror? Parents, siblings?
My mom.
Okay.
I mean, my parents loved movies, and my dad would put up with it. My mom was strangely... bless her. Bless them both for being so patient with me. They're still around, and I love them so much for the amount of. They gave me enough rope to hang myself many times over as a kid. But when Dawn of the Dead came out, Mom's like, "Oh yeah, let's go."
Nice.
Yeah, she really thought it was entertaining to see people get flayed, ripped apart, whatever else. And
I like your mom.
I mean, my dad was a little less enthusiastic about it. He was like, well, if you guys like it, we're family, we'll do this. Mom's like, oh yeah, that was great the way they fucking ripped his head off. And, I'm like, yeah. And I'm sitting there with my issues of Fangoria flipping through, and it's like, oh, hey, check this out, Ma, and so yeah, it was a strange but wonderful dynamic in that era in the 80s when all that stuff was happening.
Cool.
I got permission. Oh, it's gory, whatever. Oh yeah, we'll go.
Yeah.
When
Did you have a favorite Halloween costume? Least favorite?
I honestly, when I was growing up, I did the Halloween thing, and then in high school, it was freshman year. Yeah, it was freshman year. It was really sad and it was unfortunate, but my grandfather on my mom's side passed away on Halloween.
Ooh.
So at that point, and ever
sounds-
since, I kind of was. Thank you, by the way. I've nothing against Halloween, but I don't celebrate.
Right.
So no costumes, no nothing. It's another day. And so I've kind of lost, I kind of lost my enthusiasm at that point, unfortunately.
Understandable.
So, yeah, thanks. But I have no less love for the genre or the other people's enjoyment of the holiday. But for me, it's a different day now.
Understandable. Did you have any scary dreams or reoccurring nightmares when you were a kid?
Yeah, it's interesting, actually. If I did, I know it would be dreams about, basically we've discussed here, it would either be dreams about arachnids or, fancy, he got fancy, or zombies. I'd say
no
zombies.
arthropods?
Well, yeah, no, the pods are fine. Pods are fine. Fucking arachnids, though. Jesus, man. They come for you. They'll get you. But yeah, definitely zombies was the kind of stuff I would have the worst dreams about.
Inhuman, unstoppable kind of thing.
Anything that's ghoulish, or anything that resembles human but has lost all its humanity is somehow the worst of the worst for me.
I wonder sometimes if that's like an innate, just societal thing, because we are the kind of top of the food chain, if you will, creature of this planet. So it's cliche, but it really does always come down to human beings are the most dangerous thing. So if a human being that has lost all control is, I think, one of the deeper rooted fears of people.
Oh yeah, totally agree. And it's especially, Invasion of the Body Snatchers deals with it very explicitly before zombies do, I think. Before the zombies.
That's worse than a zombie. That's a person you thought you could trust, and then all of a sudden they're an enemy.
Exactly. And that's why I feel like that leads into where we start to get into Romero zombies, where it's like, that was my mom 5 minutes ago. That was my friend or some other family member 5 minutes ago. And now you look in the eyes and there's nothing there anymore. And it's trying to eat me or kill me or whatever else. So that kind of, it's great that the zombie genre kind of really took that into itself. But I think that Invasion of the Body Snatchers really is like the end all be all, the beginning of that.
So flipping that last question around about scary dreams, did you have anything actually scary happen in real life when you were a kid?
It's interesting because I would say not really. I was a very lucky child in that sense. The only thing that ever happened to me that was like, holy shit, was I'd gotten into a car accident when I was in, it would be high school. And my friend was driving, going down the road. It was night and going down a country road and kind of zigzagging along. And as we came around a corner, we were going faster than we should have been. And the car coming towards us from around the corner was going faster than that should have been going. It was kind of in the middle of the road. My friend was a novice driver. So he spun the wheel quickly and we ended up going up the side of a hill and he got thrown out of the car. And the car, I was still in the car, hit the ground and flipped over about 4 or 5 times and then landed on its roof. And unbelievably, since we were going probably about 40 or 50 miles an hour, neither of us got hurt, which was incredible. And so I just needed to be extricated from the car eventually, which is what happened, but it took a while. The car was one of those Pintos that were infamous that time period for having exploded.
Well, you're lucky that wasn't worse than it was with the history and the reputation of Pintos. Jesus.
Yeah, it was lucky, but it was also one of those things where when I got out of it, I was like, okay, that's cool. I guess I'm meant to be here for a little while longer, and we both felt that way. Mm-hmm. Here how life works is that unfortunately, sometime about, I would say 6, no more than 7 years later, my friend, unfortunately, sadly, ended up committing suicide, which was very sad, especially since we had survived that car accident together. So I would say that in my youth, that was probably one of the most formative bad experiences that I had.
Definitely.
Also understandable. Then, yeah, when you mentioned the ejection, I took accident reports for 4 years for an insurance company. So that,
oh, wow.
You had me a little more scared there.
I would imagine. Wow.
Yeah. Fun times. Well, flipping that question around, was there ever a time in your childhood when you felt exceptionally calm or safe or at bliss?
I would say really most of my childhood was pretty good. I know growing up, we were lower middle class, barely middle class family. So I would say that, we weren't exactly rolling in the dough or anything there. We were just kind of getting by, but we got by. My parents made it work so well that I never felt like there was anything bad going on around us. I might have just been oblivious to some of it, but I don't think there was.
Okay. So these next two questions also come as a pair. We're going to start with the negative one, so we can end on the positive. Do you remember the first person you hurt?
Ooh. Yeah, I'm assuming that's emotionally or physically?
Correct.
Either or.
Yeah. Interesting. Wow. Huh. That's a really interesting question, and I got to tell you, can we come back to that? Just because I'd like to think on it for a minute. It catches me off guard. I mean, everyone hurts somebody at some point, but I wish I could give you an answer immediately to that, and it's just not coming to mind.
That's what makes it interesting, is because you never know what's going to come to mind. We've had a couple different interesting answers to that one. So the follow-up.
You know what? It just hit me. Just hit me. So I remember. Oh, it's such a terrible thing. As a kid, I was reading comic books, and my dad had gone away. He had a business trip, and he came back, and he brought me back as a gift a comic book, and it was a comic book I already had.
Okay.
So he'd left it out for me, and we're talking about, I must have been, I'm going to say 7 years old. Definitely, I could have been 8, but I'm going to say 7. So he left it out for me, and he'd gone to bed, and I was so excited. Dad had gone home, got me this nice comic book, and when I saw it, I was just like, oh, what? I have this one. Didn't Dad know? I was so angry. I was so upset. So I took the comic and I threw it on the floor, and I went back to bed.
Oh,
and that was, come on. What a little sniveling shit to do something like that. And I know it really hurt my dad, So, yeah, I still feel bad about that.
Mm-hmm. It's from the same logic as from the mouths of babes idiom.
Yeah,
kids don't think about how much it hurts people to do shit like that. You're just upset because you're like, I already have this one. Mad now.
Yeah. Oh, it was such a shitty thing to do. It really was. And even as a kid, I think you even know, that'll show him. Show him what he tried.
Yeah, you're right. It's not so much that you don't understand as a kid; it's that you don't care. You
right, exactly. You just don't know. And now, even now, it wounds me to talk about it. But it took me a second, and that just jumped into my head. So I'm going to say that's the first time.
It's a good answer.
Hopefully I don't. I'd like to think that I haven't done that too many times to anybody since. I'd like to think I've tried to be as sensitive as possible to people. It's impossible, of course, but you try.
So flipping that question around, do you remember the first person you helped?
I don't, and I'll tell you why. Because I feel like for as long as I can remember, I feel like I've always tried to help other people. So I don't have a distinct demarcation as to when the first time was. I just feel like even now, I'm always like, how can I help someone? Can I introduce someone? if someone comes to me with a gig and I can't do it, who can I give it to? Helping people across the street as a kid was just a given. Someone dropped something, picking it up, holding doors open for strangers, all of that. My parents really instilled that in me very young. And I just don't, wow. I'm just going to say that as far back as I can remember, always just the little things, anything, try and help.
Well, can already see sort of like a common theme, and these two questions also help kind of underline that, where, these conversations about the monsters and spiders, zombies, inhumanity. There's the social aspect of community, if you will. And, the things that you just shared here, and even the one where you disappointed, with the situation with your father, there's the relationship issue. We'll see how the rest of the call goes, but it's seeming like that's already starting to be a common thread about what's important to you. And it'll be interesting to see how the conversation evolves. That's part of why we enjoy doing this is, you potentially see different threads and then see how it plays out in terms of the media that we consume and how those topics sometimes speak to what we're interested in,
Yeah.
So actually that,
Dad, if you're listening, I love you, Dad. You know that.
Oh, that's right. I forgot you mentioned he is still around. So
thankfully. Yeah. Love you too, Mom.
Yep, that too.
And now a 10-second self-advertising spot. We absolutely believe that word of mouth means more than any kind of advertising campaign. If you like what we're doing, please just tell somebody about us. Back to the show.
So moving to teenagers, media that has jumped out to you or that you remember really enjoying from your teenage years?
I'm going to include Fangoria, if I may, as a media magazine, right?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Was Starlog and Fangoria were both like incredible formative influences in my young life. Fangoria from like issue 1, like I was reading Starlog at the time, and they had the ad for it when it was called Fantastica, and had Godzilla on the cover in there, and I sent in a subscription immediately to that. I was like, I got to do that. But they were so important to magazines because they let me know that I wasn't alone, that there was other people out there. There's a magazine for it. They're not printing it just for me. Other people are buying it. When I go to the bookshelf at the local Barnes and Noble or the magazine shop as a kid, there's like 5 or 6 copies. I buy one, I come back, and the other ones are gone. Someone's buying this stuff, So before the internet, that was just a really good confirmation that there were other people interested in this stuff. It was just a matter of finding them, Do I wait at the store and see who's buying the issues, So there were things like that. Pre-internet, if nothing else to do, that actually probably wasn't an unrealistic thing, because back in the day, you'd go to a magazine store and, they would line the wall and there would be people reading along there, reading the magazines, checking them out. So sometimes you might strike up a conversation with a stranger based on what they were reading or vice versa.
Yep.
And from there, friendships would grow or, it's pretty amazing to think how much more outward we were at that time,
Socializing in public? What?
Yeah, with strangers? Aren't they supposed to have candy? And they're trying to tempt me into places.
It's funny that you brought up the newsstand because you're right. And I haven't thought about that in a long time. But, even before the video rental store, like you say, it was the newsstand. And I still remember it was Wolf's Newsstand was the name of the place in Pinellas Park, Florida. Was the place that we would go for they had all kinds of different stuff, newspapers, all kinds of different magazines, adult section in the back with the covers, covered.
Of course, you got to check those the Utes.
Yes.
Well, some places would also hide their Fangorias up near that zone too. Because, remember the infamous zombie cover or, number 9 there, it's like, whoa, what's going on here?
Do you remember any particular movies that stood out to you from those days?
It's interesting because I'd say most of the ones that stuck out to me at first are stuff I would never be caught dead watching now. Friday the 13th, which is it's utter fucking garbage. And I'm trying to think what else. It's interesting to me because as a kid, I missed Halloween in the theater, but there was other. I remember being able to sneak in and see Night of the Zombies. I guess that was called the Bruno Mattei one in the theater. You know, it was a lucky period where I was able to get and see those unrated ones, and certainly seeing Dawn of the Dead with my parents. It's interesting because the first time we saw it, there was a period where I was religious. I was going to yeshiva, and for a couple of years, it would have been the equivalent of my junior high school years. And when we saw Dawn of the Dead, we were still in that zone, and it was during Passover. So we were just eating matzah and, obeying the laws. So we were in the theater, we brought in our own matzah. So if you can imagine us watching this movie and making the crunching sound while watching, eating the matzah in the theater, I'm sure we must have given the people around us what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, I've heard of bringing in candy before. That's I would not have expected that.
What is your spaghetti policy?
Theater.
Yeah.
What's that?
Just quoting the Always Sunny episode. Excuse me, what is your spaghetti policy? Probably trying to bring in I think he had like a Ziploc bag of spaghetti he was trying to bring into a movie.
One of the most oh my god moments in a theater with food was when I went to go see Suspiria in New York at Film Forum, and woman I was dating at the time, good friend, still a lovely woman, she showed up and she didn't have time to grab something to eat, so she grabbed a tub of ribs and brought that in with her for Suspiria. Sitting there,
okay,
nibbling on a rib as the woman is getting her heart stabbed out in the opening reel, and I'm sitting there like the smell has suffused the entire theater.
Right? Yeah, that's gonna spread the whole theater.
No,
that's like the good version of eating fish in a theater. Like fish would be inexcusable, but at least in this case, the whole theater does smell like barbecue ribs, which is delicious. Whole theater.
It was literally, I'm sitting there, I'll be watching this in smell-o-vision. It was just unbelievable.
I mean, at least you weren't watching a zombie film.
No, but that heart being stabbed, it could not have been a better. Whenever I watch a movie now, like in my head, the smell is a remembrance when I watch that scene.
Smell is very powerful with memories.
It really is. Well, that goes right down to the pithecanthropus. That's the lizard part. Smells one of our earliest, smallest centers of the brain there.
So I have to ask, was she doing this like in the reclining seats, or was it one of the theaters where you sit at a table?
No. It was in fact, it was Film Forum in New York, which is an art house theater.
Oh, God.
So we were just sitting there, and I think in the third or fourth, we were up close. We were pretty up front there. And so it was just a regular old theater seat with that kind of fabric folding up chair seat that you think of in high school auditorium. Not the most comfortable seat in the world,
Makes it even better.
Just awful. Awful.
So like standard movie theater, which would I imagine have an usher seat. They came in there afterwards. Like, did somebody eat fucking ribs in here?
Yeah, it was. I took one point. I was so like, oh my god, just before the woman gets stabbed in Suspiria, she's looking out the window and there's a pair of eyeballs glowing in the dark. And I actually looked around me at one point. And all I saw was the entire theater was full of eyeballs glowing in the dark, looking at my companion and her tub of ribs. And I thought, wow, 3D now.
Right.
5D.
I mean, on the other hand, I know you said you're still friends with this person. That's one of those things where it's like, horror fans sometimes talk about how difficult it can be to find a mate who is into the same things that they're into. And I'm just thinking to myself, anybody else in this situation would have been like, I need to marry this person.
I wouldn't say we came close, but we were definitely close. And the situation did not make me love her any less.
Right.
and in fact, I remember afterwards just kind of going like, that's a story for the ages, maybe.
Right.
But if it ever comes up in conversation, truthfully, it has not come up in conversation too much. So I'm glad we got to talk about it now.
Same. That is a good one. Let's see. So we talked about scary stuff with the car accident. Did you have any recurring dreams or nightmares as a teen?
As a teen, the only real recurring nightmares was probably after I saw Night of the Living Dead. it's hard to think of a movie that really fucked me up more. And yeah, it would always be just zombie nightmares.
Mm.
You know, and I mean that I mean that went on for a long time. Yeah.
Okay. Flipping that around, was there ever a time in your teens when you felt exceptionally calm or safe or bliss?
In high school, I was lucky because even though I was a total horror and sci-fi geek, I kind of found my people there, and I had friends, and we would hang out. We'd meet in front of the library at the school library in the morning, talk about what we had seen, what Star Trek episode, what Outer Limits episode, what you were reading, whatever else. I mean, we were a total, the most cliched collection of geeks. It was just wonderful. And at my school, a lot of the sports guys were also AT students or advanced AP students, advanced placement students. So not only were they in sports, but they were actually really smart, and they were exceptionally nice to me. So instead of hanging out with, if I was in the class with some of these sports guys, hey, he's cool, leave him alone. He's all right, which I mean, I never really understood, but I was really thankful for at the time.
Yeah.
The only time it ever really got scary was shop classes and things like that, where it was the total cliche. If you watch John Carpenter's Christine and they're in a shop class, that was exactly what my shop class was like.
Were they that over the top too? Because I had never actually seen Christine until just recently, and watching it nowadays, God damn, these bullies are Broadway play level assholes. Dude, you guys can tone it down a bit.
Dude, when I tell you that, in fact, we had even worse people in the classes than what's in Christine. I was watching Christine going, I would prefer this to over what was going on in my class. It's crazy, but they really let the guys run loose, and there was machinery and things were dangerous, and they would really come after you, really insult you, and sometimes because they were playing with the machinery, things kind of got dangerous,
Yeah, yeah, literally dangerous. Really dangerous. Yeah,
and yet somehow there was this balance in the how should we say, the ecosphere, the high school ecosphere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I went to high school in Philadelphia and in New Jersey, and there were completely different schools, but the one in New Jersey was similar. We had people who it wasn't a monolith. For example, the jocks, there were some jocks who were just straight up jocks, and then there were some jocks who were also academic. And so there was some mixture there. So I don't want to say there was safety, but usually you'd at least have one or two friends in each clique instead of being full mixing, but at least you had one or two friends, because if you don't have any friends, then bad things happen. Yeah.
And now a 10-second self-advertising spot. If you'd like to support us for free, you can also share, subscribe, tell a friend, leave us a review, or join the Patreon free tier. If you could do at least one of these, we'd really appreciate it. Back to the show. And now a 10-second self-advertising spot. If you'd like to support us for free, you can do things like, share, subscribe, tell a friend, leave us a review, or join the Patreon free tier. Back to the show.
All right, moving into adult years, and I understand this is a larger part of the percentage here, but
my age it is, yeah.
If we were to pick maybe top 2 or 3 or 4 things that stood out to you as media that you really enjoyed.
Do you mean titles in particular?
Yeah, if they come to mind.
Yeah.
It's it's interesting. One of the things that has happened certainly in the last 20 years or so as I've gotten older is I've found myself moving away from horror more towards science fiction, westerns. Oh my God, inexplicable. Film noir, 70s crime films. Well, just about anything from the 70s at this point. Mid 60s, mid 70s seems to be a real sweet spot for me. But of course, I'll always have horror in my heart. It's still there, but it just doesn't get, that muscle doesn't get exercised as much as certain other ones do, which is a sad way, I guess, for me to say. Also, I like erotica. Excuse me, that was a terrible lead-in for exercising muscles. But yeah, so much European stuff you know, it's because of the magic of Blu-ray and now 4K. So much stuff that wasn't even available to us before is now available. So, you know, I was at X-Fest out the Colony Theater last weekend, and I bought some stuff from the Diabolic table, and one of them was Dead Mountaineers Hotel. So one of the great things about this point in existence is that I can get all these wonderful Eastern European science fiction films that never even got released here, and that come out, and that one's in 4K. Like, oh my God, you know, that's really like that's my jam right now, you know, all that incredible stuff. Box sets coming out from DEFA, I'm not sure I'm saying it's right, DEFA, which is all the West German science fiction stuff from the 50s and the 60s, the stuff that was going on behind the Iron Curtain, you know, stuff we couldn't even know about. Tarkovsky, the Russian science fiction there.
There's an interesting point of fact I never really thought about. Is like, yeah, you always find these, for me, it's booths at conventions or, you know, stuff like Vinegar Syndrome,
right,
or a lot of indie horror circuits that have also just these foreign action or sci-fi films that you've never heard of before. But yeah, there's some that are probably just now coming out because they were labeled like a video nasty or something previously, and they just never saw the light of day.
Right, or the politics. They couldn't come out. You know, then the DEFA stuff. You know, like I said, the West German stuff there. It's just like that's a no go. It's just, it has no distribution over here. You know, it's some of that stuff was overtly like politicized over there. It was made for, you know, to support the political base that was going on there at the time. So it wasn't seen to have a market over here because it would be considered propaganda, or there's no need to release it over there. I will say before that, though, I'm going to jump back to your question, because back in the 90s, I worked near Chinatown in Lower Manhattan. So one of the formative things that happened to me there was wandering down to Chinatown after work. It's about a 20-minute walk. And there were the movie theaters there that were showing, well, of course, the Jackie Chan stuff, which is, you know, this would be like 92, I guess, no, 93 at the latest. And going in and discovering these movies, it was absolutely mind blowing. But, you know, it'd be a Jackie Chan film and something else, or it would be 2 category 3 films. Like, I still remember very distinctly my very first walk in being Robotrix and Armor of God 2. So, and they had the artwork outside. I didn't even know who Jackie Chan was at that point, really. And they had the posters up for both outside, but it was the one for Robotrix that I was like, holy shit, it's something. I didn't know what category 3 really was, but it looked really dirty, filthy, science fiction-y. And I was like, oh, I got to see this. So I just bought a ticket and went in, but I didn't realize I'd gotten it too early. So the Jackie Chan film went on first. And I was like, hey, let me sit through this and get the other one. Well, let me tell you, I'm sure I don't need to tell you, my brain fucking exploded. So Armor of God 2 was like, what the fuck is, what am I watching? This is unbelievable. And then Robotrix came on. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing too, for so many other reasons, but what the fuck? So I literally left the theater and I was on the phone with people, you know, and the next day, I think it was like 2 days later, I was dragging people over. Come on, we're going in. But, you know, so, and that's when I was like, I'm coming here once a week, every week, just seeing what's playing, and I'm going to find something. So I've just bopped from one theater to another, and, you know, erotic ghost story, Chinese ghost story, Dr. Lamb's Confessions of a Serial Killer. The erotic category 3 stuff was truly mind blowing. I mean, it wasn't hardcore, but it was medium core. So it was just kind of above soft core, but still like, what am I watching right now? Oh my God, The Fruit is Swelling was one where I had to drag people to, because it was like, I think a 10 or 12-year-old girl has a body switch with her 18-year-old sister. I was sitting there in the theater going like, the police are just going to vice squad break in any moment here.
Right. They're just waiting outside like, yep.
Yeah, that's a title I don't think we're ever going to see on Blu-ray. But there it was in 35 with subtitles. And I got to bring friends who'd all just sit there going like, what the fuck? and we were like stone cold sober too. We weren't even drinking in the theater. If you went up to the balcony, that's where the elderly people were, having meals nonstop. They were practically like had rotisserie chickens up there being, cooked. It was crazy. It was just really wonderful. Great environment. I loved it.
A lot of stuff to ask about here. You mentioned Dead.
A bit to unpack there. A bit.
Yeah, Dead Mountaineers Hotel. Any particular scene stand out to you from that one?
I will have to get back to you on that because I have not seen it in over 10 years.
Okay.
I will say the first time I saw it was very lucky. I saw a 35 millimeter projection of it. And I just remember being really taken in by it because it hits that sweet spot where it's like it's a detective story, it's a science fiction story. As I seem to remember the storytelling kind of verging on nonlinear in the way that I love with Alain Robbe-Grillet or Alain Resnais.
That's all more cerebral stuff. Was there any kind of emotional connection or spark to that movie?
I would have to get back to you on that just because my memories are dim of it, but I can tell you that I can just as easily connect with just about any movie on the intellectual, in quotes, level as emotional. Like I said, Robbe-Grillet and Resnais these are not movies I sit down and get emotionally attached to for the most part, but I absolutely adore the work and intellectually and just in terms of imaginative storytelling, I could get sucked right into those.
Yeah. Yeah, the cerebral side often does come up more in the adult section, particularly with people who are creatives in the business, because then it becomes, the auteur side of really enjoying how someone else has created a piece of work, and then teasing out that from the personal, like emotional connections can be a challenge sometimes. But it, like you say, it can hit on multiple levels for different reasons at different times.
Absolutely. And someone who gets away with both really for me is Nick Rogue. Like Don't Look Now is, I'm in absolutely tears by the end of that. And I've suddenly forgotten the name of the other one with Art Garfunkel. That's really
like Simon and Garfunkel.
Yeah. I've suddenly forgotten the one he did with Nick Rogue. I have it up on the shelf here. I'll have to find it. But even Man of Fell to Earth is upsetting to me. Rogue is someone who could be like you could take the pieces, you could break them down, do a nonlinear, and I could still find his stuff quite emotional. Ken Russell actually as well is capable of doing that. I feel like those are the two guys who can deliver the goods of being like movies that are high art, great storytelling, and emotionally can really hit me in the gut. I'm sure there's others, but they just popped into my head.
Sure. Starting with the one that you just mentioned, what about Don't Look Now? Speaks to you.
It's an interesting question. I'm not a parent, and yet we all know someone who's lost a child or either in childbirth or later in life, and it's just the most devastating thing possible in life. So you instantly connect with the horror, just the awfulness of it. But one of the things that I've always loved about the movie, in addition to that it's something I didn't quite get so much on the first viewing, but repeat viewings, is the fantastic misdirection in the movie, that it seems like maybe Julie Christie is the one having the psychic impressions. And then you realize, no, it's not. It's Donald Sutherland.
Well, that's good to know, because I have yet to see Don't Look Now.
Oh.
I unfortunately do know of the twist because it's all over. But knowing that it's just as good on repeat viewings makes it seem like knowing the twist is not as bad. Still,
I wouldn't even call it a twist. I wouldn't even call it a twist. It's just, yes, exactly. It's in the course of human events. This is what happens and how it happens. And one of the things that I love about it too is that unlike, it's a horror film. I don't want to use the term it's elevated. It's a horror film, but it happens to have very human characters in the lead roles. And one of the things that, as I've gotten older, especially, is I like seeing human beings. I like a movie like Wendigo, from Larry Fessenden, where you care so much about the characters that you're like, oh my God, please. I know this is a horror film, but I don't want to see anything horrible happen to these people.
Right.
Don't Look Now has that. I feel like the best the genre has to offer is when terrible things happen to people you don't want to see it happen to, which is why I've basically lost almost all interest in slasher flicks, where it's a bunch of teens acting stupid. Well, I don't want to just generalize it. It could be adults too, but it's like if that's supposed to be the bad girl, the stupid person, or the whatever else, you've already lost me. I know in
I'm
my
the
own
slutty
writing,
one. You're gonna die first.
Exactly. He's the geek, and I know in my own work, I've always said I've never written a villain. That's up for debate, of course, but I just mean that I like to make sure everyone has a human dimension to them. And if a movie can't be bothered or half-assed enough to find it in their characters, then it's probably not going to be a movie that interests me so much.
Keying on the phrase having a human dimension to them, if The Man Who Fell to Earth is the one with David Bowie, I could see a connection between those two. The idea of, potentially, alien persona and, finding some sort of humanity there.
Yeah, well, it's just that one. I mean, that's a fascinating one just because it's really, it's hard to call David Bowie a lead character in that movie because really the entire movie is a beatdown on his character by corporatism, greed, inhumanity from humans, and then his own weaknesses helping to bring him down with alcohol and drugs and whatnot. So, I mean, it's just a glorious, it's a glorious representation of the worst that we have to offer to ourselves and to each other, and from ourselves, from each other.
Yeah. Still keying in on the humanity aspect of it.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, these are movies that make me cry,
For good reason.
Yep.
So we talked about Halloween. Let's see. Scary dreams or recurring nightmares as an adult. I'm guessing still zombies.
Yeah, I haven't had a nightmare in so long. I can't even remember the last time I had a nightmare. And I can't say I'm complaining.
Right.
But I mean, can one age out of nightmares? I don't know. Maybe it's the world we're living in. Maybe it's because you reach an age, you're like, all right, I could be dead any day now. Isn't that nightmare enough?
People say that we're pattern finding machines, or
absolutely.
I like to say we're also emotion processing machines, and a lot of our dreams are our brains putting us into situations and going, okay, now what would you do? How would you handle this? Right.
That's rehearsal, yeah.
And so I think as we age, we get better at, having more experience with actually dealing with problems in real life, that in some respects, yes, we can age out of those kinds of dreams. Although sometimes then it shifts into, okay, your brain's like, okay, well, what about this situation? Maybe the situation changes.
The problem solving you mentioned is having more options. Yeah. And as we get older and we have less options, I think that's probably why some of that goes away. The problem solving at this point is, where will I be buried? And there's not much other real problem besides that. I think once you reach a certain age, besides maybe getting your paper and your collectibles in order. But in terms of real deal life options, those have all pretty much slipped away once you reach a certain age. I don't mean that in a pessimistic way. Right. I just mean that in a realistic way.
Yeah,
I do. Yeah, I think cynicism and pessimism increases as you get older, so there's less to worry about because you have less hope in achieving things as you get older. So you don't have nightmares so much anymore because you're just like, that shitty thing could happen, but sure, it's a day that ends in a Y.
My only thing with you when you say there's, I don't want to say lacking in, it's not a lack of hope, because I've got a very rich and dark sense of humor, so I'm actually very happy right now. But it is in some ways comforting knowing that I just don't have to worry about, like, do I have to worry about am I going to accidentally have a kid at this age? Doubt it. Don't see that happening.
Yeah.
There are any number of things. Am I choosing to go water skiing? No, I'm not going to do that right now either. No skydiving. So many options have been taken out of the mix when you start looking at realistic things you can and can't do at this point, that it's almost comforting.
Well, and it goes back to, and this is a conversation Chris and I go back and forth on all the time, even in our personal lives, not just on the podcast. But, it's, I can't remember the exact phrasing of it, but it's like nothing matters, so why worry? Nothing matters, and then you can choose to either say, well, then why care about anything? But you could also say, then, well, why worry about anything? You don't. It's the same inflection point, and then the choice is which path are you going to take?
You're talking the Alfred E. Newman conundrum. What? Me worry?
Right.
It sounds pretty close there. Wait, is there a question in there?
No, I was just commenting that,
okay.
because you were taking the one path of why worry, and he's taking the path of, well, fuck it, nothing matters, so I'm going to be pissed off at everything.
Hey, both.
They're both right.
I'm not saying that either one are right or wrong. Yeah. I'm just pointing out the choice.
You reach this age and you're like, it's a line I always quote from one of my favorite movies out of the past. I always say everybody's right. Yeah. And from the news guy selling his little 2-cent newspaper. To
a degree, I actually agree with that, because for me, it's about, the question is, what's your bandwidth? And I can only be mad about something for so long. And in fact, that is what a lot of, bad people prey upon, is the knowledge that you can only be upset about something for so long. And then your energy dissipates, and, you only have so many hours in a day, and how much time can you spend worrying about something? And you just kind of go back and forth between, okay, I'm going to worry about this for a while, and then, okay, I need a break for a while. And okay, I can worry about this for a while, and then I can take a break.
I can run on hate for approximately 52 hours. Tested this.
I was just going to say, and he knows because he's tried.
For some people, hate is a protein. So you can live off that. It's true.
He will live forever.
High sodium diet.
Well, that too.
I'm a salt man, so that's good to hear.
Salt and scotch.
Block of salt and a bottle of scotch. I could probably go for months.
So, was there ever a time in your adult life when you felt exceptionally calm or safe or at bliss?
Calm or what?
Safe or at bliss.
Oh, at bliss. Bliss.
Yeah.
What a word. I guess as a privileged white guy living in New York City, I was Jewish by birth, if not inclination. I have never really felt any great weight upon me that would. I was felt pretty damn good, really. Mm. And it is a privilege, and I am lucky. And I certainly know people who are friends and acquaintances, relatives who've had far worse. But I can honestly say, it's so boring, but I really have nothing to complain about with any of that.
It's not a bad thing.
No, it's not, and I'm knocking on wood mentally right now. Let's hope I can keep that going. Mm-hmm. But I've been a really lucky guy. I have gotten to make movies. I've made 3 features and a short. Mm-hmm. There was a time when I was writing for Fangoria, and I wrote some feature articles. I think I wrote almost 100 reviews. I've worked on other people's movies as a performer, as a technician, doing music, scoring,
and kept a roof over your head.
And exactly. And on top of that, I feel so good. I don't think I have ever screwed anyone over on that ladder. You know what I mean? I've never always try to make sure, give credit where it's due, help people out when I can, and never fucked anyone over. I mean, that's very important to me. Mm-hmm. Is that we all work together as a team. It's that word. It's a coin of the realm. Mm. So I've had a very rich creative life, not only with my own work, but also with the work of people that I know who I've been able to give feedback to is wonderful. I've been lucky to be surrounded by so many creative people, and not only they're creative, but talented.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a perfect segue into our next two questions, which is
who do I hate? I'll tell you about that scumbag.
We should add that. Who do you hate?
Uh-oh.
Gears are turning.
No, we do the hurt and help ones again, but this time we ask, do you remember the last person you hurt, and then the last person you helped?
The last person I hurt, I am divorced and married again, but I feel like the last person I really did to me that hurt was getting divorced from my first wife. I felt very bad about that. I just didn't think it could be worked out. I'm pleased to say that we are still good friends, and I love her dearly. And she also happens to be an incredible writer, very talented, much better writer than I am. And I've told her, I think she knows, and I know. I know she knows that I know that she knows. Anyway, I'm so happy to have her in my life at all. And she's still doing wonderful writing, and she's just great.
I just have to ask because the synchronicity is just too funny for me not to ask.
Okay.
When I mentioned earlier about the woman eating the ribs in the film, and I said that normally when we talk to horror people, that's somebody that you would say, marry this person. And you said, this person's still a friend. Mm-hmm. Was that the person that you married and divorced?
No, it isn't.
Okay. That would have been too funny.
There was follow-up question. Did you get divorced because of the ribs?
Well, it was, they were good ribs. You know?
that would have been too funny.
Oh, no. I'm lucky. I'm lucky with, I'm friends with a good amount of people that I dated and, broke up with just because I've always been, if you love someone enough to date them,
right. Yeah. I'm the same way. There's only one or two people that I don't talk to.
Yeah. I mean, and honestly, at this point, it's because they don't talk to me, not because I won't talk to them. And, but it's a good feeling to still have these people in my life. I mean, I love them. I still love them,
Yeah. So do you remember the last person you helped?
That I helped?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, it's interesting. I don't want to get specific here,
sure.
But one of the things that happens is that every now and then, you see, in addition to my day job, I also still get, which I'm a videographer, I'm an editor, I do that work. I don't know, I get contacted by, let's say, Arrow or Vinegar Syndrome to shoot an interview for upcoming discs or record an audio commentary. When I say record, I mean engineer it so that I'm not actually doing the commentary, but I'm the one doing the recording and editing the commentary. But sometimes I can't always do it. So when that happens, I try to find amongst my friends someone else I can say, hey, are you available? Can you do this instead?
That is very cool.
Yes. Yep. Help when you can.
Yeah.
So the next question is not just about horror, and it's not over any particular time of your life, but your entire life, any genre. What movie have you watched more times than any other?
Wow. Well, that's an interesting one.
It's the Winged Serpent, isn't it?
Well, no. Here's I know for a fact that I've seen Star Wars over 100 times.
Okay.
And to be clear, Star Wars. Not A New Fucking Hope.
Star Wars. I'm with you. Okay. Yeah.
All right. So, and we all know it's May 25th and not May the fucking 4th be with you. Okay. Fuck that shit. It's May 25th is when that movie came out. So this May the 4th be with you day, amateur night.
But it rhymes. It's portmanteau.
Ooh. Portamento? Wait, that's a music thing, isn't it? I will, but so I almost don't want to say Star Wars just because it's just so freaking obvious. And there are other movies that I've seen a lot. I would say Out of the Past, Maltese Falcon, and The Big Sleep are in constant rotation for me.
Normally, the reason that we ask this question is because it either underlines something that we've talked about earlier in the call or brings up an opportunity to talk about something different. The common theme so far in this conversation has been a lot of, community identification, relationships. Is that the common theme here with these three, or is there something else that you think is important to you about these movies?
No, in fact, the noirs are like anti-community.
Yeah.
The
Very
darkness,
isolationist.
the isolationist, darkness, the worst humanity has to offer for the most part. I will say, what's interesting about your question just now is that Star Wars I wanted to make movies after seeing Star Wars, like in a big way, but I didn't want to really write or direct. I wanted to be a special effects guy. Like I really wanted to be John Dykstra, after watching that movie. I wanted holy shit, figure out effects. And so that was really a big part of my life for years. I mean, even now, much to the probably annoyance of people around me, if we're watching an old movie or something, a shot comes up, I go, yeah, that's an optical. That's,
You're that guy.
See in the right corner over there? Yeah, they added that. That's a matte painting. That's glass. Whatever else it is. It's like we'll sit with someone. I'll start talking. See how they layered this shot? He's actually stepping in front of that, but that's because that part's blue screen and that part isn't. And then So I have such a ridiculously stupid amount of old school effects knowledge when I watch movies. Now I don't even care anymore about the new stuff. Yeah, CG, whatever. I got it, because it's just the way it's done.
So I'm curious to go back to The Big Sleep and Maltese Falcon, because you said they're sort of anti-community. So if that seemed to be the running theme, relationships and identification with community, if that seems to be the running theme of this conversation, then why do you like those movies? Is it?
What's great about those movies is the Bogart character in both. He's Sam Spade in one. He's Phil Marlowe in the other. The guy is knee deep in a fucking sewer of human filth, and somehow he manages to try to maintain successfully in both cases some semblance of humanity, even in the midst of his own perhaps lying, cheating, and stealing. There's a way of coming out of it, if not so much a white knight, a gray knight. And there is an adherence to a moral code on his character in both. And even though that moral code might be compromised compared to, let's say, what we would think of as a moral code, it's still something that he sticks to. And you kind of admire him for it. There's could be a little treachery here, but there's a limit.
Okay.
And by the way, I think that's sadly how most people really do function in daily life is finding just how much compromise you're capable of before you say, that's it, no more.
Yeah. Yeah. Going back to what I said a minute ago about, being upset about things and for as long as you can be upset about things and then taking a break for a while and back and forth.
Yeah.
Well, this is the point where we would talk about, the general summary of your call and maybe.
Am I getting graded?
Well, not exactly graded, but one of the things that we like to do is, part of the conversation that Chris and I had that we wanted to start this podcast is, not everybody's going to fall into the same bucket. Not everybody gets the same thing out of horror. In your case, we talked a lot about community and identification, even where we talked about The Big Sleep and Maltese Falcon about, the anti-community, if you will. The phrase that you used there was maintaining humanity, which came up earlier in the call about spiders and zombies. So there's a connecting thread there about when I say community, it's also the maintaining of humanity and disassociating or being disassociated from that community is the fear that's referenced in Body Snatchers and zombie movies is, all of a sudden you are cut off from this society. We've got our own society now. You're not part of it. And now you're being attacked.
Right.
So that's like the main thing. And then the other thing that we haven't talked about, eroticism has come up quite a few times.
Always.
Always.
As well it should.
Mm-hmm.
And I could see a connecting thread of that being part of humanity. I don't know if there's some other way you'd connect those two things or if you think they're separate.
Oh, no. I mean, there's nothing more basic than what in the fuck. It's just, it's perfect. I mean, it's besides the, propagation aspects of it. I mean, Jesus, who doesn't want to come as often as possible, right? Yeah.
Well, like you say, how do you propagate the community if you're not having sex? So,
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So,
although I'm not really a propagator, I'm kind of a faux propagator.
Yes. A lot of practicing happening. Yeah.
Exactly. Let's just say, it's all about practice makes perfect. And maybe 200 years I'll be perfect, but I will keep practicing until such time.
Yes. First question would be, do you think this is an accurate summary of what you get out of the genre? Or do you think we should tweak this or add something to it?
Well, what's interesting is when I was listening to you go over the grocery list there, which was fascinating, I was thinking to myself, really at the core of everything is fear of death. Everything you've described, the idea of being cut away from society, brought up. I mean, it's all fear of death, isn't it? In the end,
so
that is the ultimate dislocation from society.
Right. And that actually brings up an interesting point. This is something that I've shared on a couple different episodes here, where the analogy I like to use is, if you imagine standing in New York is actually a good example of this too. I like to use St. Petersburg, Florida, because that's a place that I lived for quite a while, where there's a Central Avenue and then a First Street. And if you're standing at the corner or the intersection of Central Avenue and First Street, if you look up First Street one way, the street sign says First Street North. And then if you look down the other direction, it says First Street South on the street sign. It's the same street. You're just looking at north versus south, right? Mm-hmm. And for me, talking about fears and desires in a lot of ways are opposite ends of the same street. If we know what we fear, sometimes it tells us what we love. Sometimes we know what we love, that'll tell us what we're afraid of.
Wow. That's kind of a beautiful analogy there.
Yeah.
I like that.
So I think when you say here the fear of death being the opposite of the community, to me, it's opposite sides of the same coin, same street.
Oh, yeah. I agree. Absolutely. Your description, I was like, he's breaking the north by northwest any moment now. There's all these different directions. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I totally agree. And that's why, I mean, the erotic, how should we say, somehow is, I hate saying the cherry on top. It does sound filthy, doesn't it? But I guess I said it, so there you have it.
Yeah, I think you enjoyed saying that.
I felt bad. Sometimes you say the first thing that comes to mind, and you go like, I don't know.
Yeah. Normally, the follow-up question there would be, why are these things important to you? I think in this case, it's pretty self-explanatory, unless there's something you want to say there.
No, I think it's nailed.
Okay. Next question would be, why horror? Because couldn't you explore this topic in other genres? And in your case, you kind of do with sci-fi.
Well, that's the thing. I was saying earlier, I've moved myself out of horror more towards science fiction at this point. But I mean, there's definitely always going to be a little. My science fiction tends to be horrific, but I do think of it as science fiction first, because I think, unfortunately, the thing with science fiction is that spaceships, ray guns, mechanisms, it's all bullshit, not important. What you're dealing with in science fiction is basically sociology. Mm-hmm. If there's a new technology or a new thing happening, what's interesting isn't how the technology works, but how do people react to it? How does it change their lives? How does it change their thinking? Any number of ways for that to go, for characters to react. That's the story. That's what's interesting, right? Mm-hmm. Horror is kind of the same way, but unfortunately, I feel like a lot of people writing horror don't see it that way. And they're more focused on what we'll call for the moment the spaceships and ray gun stuff, which is the kills. Mm-hmm. How can I make the kill interesting? How explicit can I get with the kill? How can I do that without ever really dealing with how the characters react to the killing? How, when a character dies, so the people in the room are continue to all be the slut, the geek, the hard jock, the nerd. Like, that's it. There's no change. There's no reconciliation. There's no, that changed my life, that death, and that could be difference afterwards.
A minute ago, we talked about having these conversations to find out what people get out of horror, and that not everybody's going to fall into the same bucket. I'm sorry, I'm going to jump in for a second. For instance, Friday the 13th, Jason does his first kill, and he's like, "Oh shit, my first kill. That was not what I expected it to be. I'm not going to do that again. Maybe I should go to therapy. Maybe I should go apologize to these people. You'd still possibly have a horror film. Maybe they're running away from him as he's trying to apologize to them. So you could still have horror, but things can change. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's kind of not a good idea, but I'm just using it as an example of like taking that and subverting it into something that seems a little bit more, lack of a better word, human. Yeah. So let me finish my train of thought and I'll come back to that.
Sorry. Yes.
No, that's fine. So one of the thoughts that Chris and I had when we started this podcast is, like I say, not everybody's going to fall in the same bucket. But if we talk to enough people, will we start identifying statistically relevant trends that we can quantify? And if we do, will that tell us anything interesting about the horror community as a whole? And we've passed our 5th year, and I've already started that book. I've collated data and started identifying trends, and now I'm pulling excerpts from individual calls as anecdotes to support what I'm going to put in the book. And the interesting thing to me is that there are a number of different things that I would use as topics, things like power dynamics, identification, community, life affirmation. But a lot of these things really could be summed up as affirming life. Mm-hmm. But the question is, how do you get there? How do you get to the life affirming part? And what's interesting is there are some people for whom chaos itself is life affirming somehow. Right. And what I thought about when you're talking about the people who are focused on the ray guns, or in this case, the gore, in many cases, at least the ones that we've talked to, those are the people who are just focused on enjoying the chaos. And for them, that is the life affirming part. So it's interesting that for you, because you're in a different bucket, you're saying, well, that's not what's life affirming to me. What's life affirming to me is the humanity part of it. So I want to focus on this different aspect. And as we kind of alluded to earlier, we're all right.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And also to your point, it's like, who doesn't love a cum shot? So if you're telling me someone really gets off on seeing the gore scenes and being ripped apart, I'm not here to piss on their parade, right. Because when I was growing up reading Fangoria, I love that shit too. And it's interesting because I always loved picking it apart on a tech level, like back to the special effects thing. I was there for the special effects aspect of it. Not, I never for a moment, it was almost a relief in some way back in the slashes of the 80s, knowing that these were not real characters, but types. So I meant when they got ripped to shreds, it was like, yeah, I saw the blood tube on that one, or, the latex was really good. I couldn't tell it apart from where it connected to the skin. So on a tech level, that was always great. Now, if they tried to make those real characters when I was growing up, it might have been a little more disturbing or some such thing. Mm-hmm. So, but here, we're talking about like 40-something years, 40 years later, literally 40-something years later. Mm-hmm. And it seems like it hasn't gotten past that yet. So that's disappointing to me on a level. But again, I don't want to cast aspersions here. If someone's there just to see that aspect and having a good time, as long as they're not going out and hurting anybody, I'm okay with it. It's fine. And sometimes I see a shot and I go, yeah, that is a pretty good effect. Doesn't mean they need to watch the whole movie. But if you show me that shot, I'd be curious to see it just on an effects level. And
it's funny that you say that, because a lot of times I'll be talking to Chris and he'd be like, I watched this one movie, and he was like, well, I like this one scene, but the rest of it was trash.
Oh yeah, that happens. Even in regular movies, even movies that we love, you're like, yeah, it's a really good movie, but there's that one scene that takes it out above and beyond.
Cool. Well, I think we got a good idea of what it is that you like about horror and how it intersects with that genre for you.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Why?
Oh, God. You do not want to spend any extended periods inside my head. Just trust me. You don't want to know, buddy.
It's weird in here, and there's this noise that keeps coming from over that corner over there.
Yeah, it's just really dark. Bring your own BYOF. Bring your own flashlight,
Well, before we hit the closing here, was there a last chance to, did you think of something earlier in the call and then the conversation took a left turn, didn't get a chance to say?
No, I feel pretty good. It was such a blast talking to you guys about this. It's so much stuff that I hadn't really thought about, in a very long time. So it was kind of nice to be peeled open like an onion, layer by layer. I didn't quite know what to expect, and I purposely like to go into these things as unprepared as possible. So I felt like it actually benefited me. It was all very honest and off the cuff for me, and I'm glad I didn't have time to. I might have had some different answers or different thoughts if I had, really been cogitating upon it for the last week or two. But being raw felt good. It's great questions, and just I love how responsive you guys are listening, and then actually like getting in there and going into the forensics with me.
Thank you. We appreciate that, and feel the same too. That I've thought about, should we do more homework on some of our guests? But sometimes the things that we come up with, usually off the cuff, they come up first for a reason. So if you can piece together enough of those, then lead somewhere.
Exactly. Well,
before we hit the closing, you want to again share is there anything you're currently working on, or do you want to just plug the short?
I'll just my most recent movie is Black Eyed Susan, which is a science fiction gone awry, erotic horror thing, and it's currently streaming on Shatter. So I think it's my best movie to date. It's on there. If you have Shatter, please feel free to check it out. Please also make sure that you're checking out there's no youngsters in the room. It's very straightforward. It's very direct, and it earns its hard R rating. Shatter Dead and 16 Tongues are both available from Saturn's Core Video via Vinegar Syndrome, and my short Saint Frankenstein is on the 16 Tongues disc, and it is on the Black Eyed Susan disc, and it is also available online to watch for free at www.saintfrankenstein.com. Hard to remember, I'm sure.
Yes.
So that's my horror moment.
Yes. Again, thank you for your time. Thank you to anybody out there listening. Our very difficult URL, if you want to come visit us, is horrormakesushappy.com. You can go there, go to the episodes page, scroll down to find Scooter's name on the list. And if you want to get to his bio and link to whatever it is that we link to, just click there and that'll take you to his bio. Like, share, subscribe, do all the fun stuff.
My kiss is on your list. I love it. Thank you.
Nice.